water in this bottle is 14 times more expensive than the water in this bottle. 14 times. And yet, it's supposedly selling the exact same thing, water. At 14 times more expensive, you'd be hoping for like gold leaf to be floating around inside of here or something, but nope, nothing, just plain old water. Clearly, this has got to be some sort of a gimmick, right? Well, that's what I plan to test today. Is the clear, flavorless, and odorless liquid we call water the same no matter whether it's coming from a square bottle or a cylindrical one? And when you spend more on a bottle of water, does that rich bottled water has really exploded onto the scene to capitalize off of our collective thirst? In 2020 alone, the US bottled water industry generated approximately $22 billion in revenue. Billion with a B just for water. When I was a kid, you drank from the tap and you liked it. If you were lucky, you got to drink from the garden hose. But now, water's become so ubiquitous it's starting to feel like a fashion accessory. Wrap your head around that. Trendy water. And of course, that also is going to come with a huge range of prices. A typical bottle of water today can cost anywhere between 50 cents and $5. So I just gotta know, is it worth it? If you actually drank all the different brands of bottled water blind, could you legitimately tell which one came from a natural spring out in the French Alps and which was bottled by the spigot out back of Coke HQ? Can your palate actually distinguish between different brands of water? And if so, does the more expensive water actually taste any better? Anyway, from our experiments, we definitively concluded that yes, you can in fact taste the designer waters from the duds, which honestly came as a pretty huge surprise to both of us. I was getting my, it's all just water takes locked and loaded, but I guess the joke's on me. Why though? If the difference in flavor doesn't just come down to marketing hype, then what's going on here? Well, after I came back from the experiment, I started digging deep underground. I wanted to see what makes expensive water taste so special, and then I realized it's actually the ground. As I mentioned earlier, more expensive brands like Evian take supposedly pure sources of water, like those on freshly fallen snowcaps, and then lets them flow along and through the ground until they're packaged up for people like us to buy. The other luxury brands, yeah, they pretty much do the exact same thing. Well, Evian comes from the French Alps, Voss comes from an isolated stream in the south of Norway, and Fiji, well, it comes from Fiji. Pretty self-explanatory. And actually, it's probably the coolest water that we looked into. Fiji water, instead of flowing through a silly little mountain, actually is naturally filtered through a frickin' volcano. Yeah, they should just put a giant volcano on the bottle and embrace how awesome that is. Jokes aside though, it's the volcanic rock that actually makes the water have, quote, twice the amount of electrolytes as other waters, and it also gives it that smooth flavor. As for all the cheaper brands, since they don't have access to, a volcano or a mountain, these pure unadulterated sources of water, they just grab fresh water from wherever they're located. They then have to filter out all the nasty bits, and if they're like Smart Water and Dasani, both Coke brands, incidentally, they re-add some of those tasty minerals back into the water to give it a consistent flavor. Consistent, yes. Tasty, not 100% sure about that anymore. All in all, the cheaper brands are so affordable because they're not just taking water from one super rare, important, pure source and shipping it around the world for us to enjoy. Since they filter the water to oblivion, it doesn't really matter where they get the water from. So anywhere you can get access to a stream can be new ground zero for a water brand. If expensive water is really better tasting, does that mean that I'm gonna suddenly smash my piggy bank to get the best culinary experience for my water? Either way, the answer is no, probably not. These premier waters do taste better, but that comes with such a hefty price tag. I am perfectly fine with fresh water out of the tap or, mildly filtered chilled water out of the refrigerator.